Welcome back, everybody. Today is a good day to do a tag. I was tagged by the lovely Casey over at A Basket Casey Reads to do the You Are What You Media tag. For the You Are What You Media tag, there are 5 categories, and for each category, you have to pick the 3 most influential items in that category. So let's get to it. The first category is, of course, books. And for this category, I am to pick my top 3 most influential books. And this was kind of difficult because there is a lot of nonfiction books that were very influential in my life. However, I tried to stick to the fictional books in my life that have most influenced me. For number 1, as I have said before, no list of mine is complete without an appearance from Tolkien or C.S. Lewis. And my first influential book is that, of course, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. This classic inspired my imagination, my fantasies, my dreams, my love of reading and adventure, all of those great and wonderful things that this story influenced in my life. As an adult, I am finally reading all of them through for the first time, but I still have to say that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe still remains to be my all-time favorite, and I just love the world it created and the imagination that it sparked in my life. Like I said, no list of mine is complete without Tolkien or Lewis, and both of them made this list. My second most influential book would be, of course, The Hobbit. I didn't actually read The Hobbit for the first time until after the first movie of the trilogy came out, but my mom had read the first 2 or 3 chapters to us as kids, so I was super excited when the movies were coming out because I had actually read some parts of this book and loved it before the movies were even coming out. I haven't finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but so far I have enjoyed The Hobbit more than The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers. With these books and these movies, this is what I would claim first and foremost to be a fan of. I am a Tolkien Middle-earth fan. I had my issues with the movie adaptations, but I loved them all the same, no matter what. This book is just timeless, and it remains to be my favorite for a long, long time. For my third most influential book, I chose the book that kind of got me back into reading. After college, I wasn't really into reading as much as I had been growing up. That is, until I went and saw The Book Thief in theaters. I saw the movie first because I actually didn't know it was a book, but then I picked up the book by Markus Zusak and absolutely loved it. The book is far better from the movie, but the movie did an excellent job at portraying the characters nonetheless. I love books about the love of books, and I loved Liesel's character in this and how it was books and words that got her through the tough times that she was going through during World War II. It is gorgeous. I loved both the movie and the book. After reading this book is kind of what kicked me back into my love of reading and why I enjoyed books and reading in the first place. Category number 2 is music, to pick your top 3 most influential music. Now, Sarah Crawford, who tagged Casey, did her favorite songs, and Casey did her favorite artists. I'm going to go around the same line as Casey and do my favorite artist because picking a favorite song is so difficult and it's just not going to happen. So for my top 3 most influential artists, my first pick would be Lifehouse. Lifehouse is my favorite band ever. I've always wanted to go to a concert of theirs. I absolutely love their music, their song Everything, their song You and Me, and Whatever It Takes. There's so much of their music that I absolutely love, and there's not an album I have of theirs there's a song that I don't like. Their album, No Name Face, I listened to through many rough times in my life, specifically more during high school and right after high school where my family was going through a really difficult time. No Name Face was the album that I listened to a lot during that time, and that kind of pulled me through those difficulties. Artist number 2 is Lacey Strum. Lacey Strum was the lead singer from the band Flyleaf. I only own 2 of Flyleaf's album. I own Memento Mori and their self-titled album, and I absolutely love both of them. I love Lacey's singing voice, but I also love more about what she encourages and stands for, and her testimony and her life story. She has a book out that I've been wanting to read for a while called The Reason: How I Discovered a Life Worth Living. It just shares her story how that she was once a girl who wanted to end her life, and with her grandmother's strong encouragement brought her to church one day where she found the reason for living. As you listen to Flyleaf's music, you can hear some of her own story and how she overcame some of the difficulties in her life through those songs even as well without reading the book. My third most influential artist is Paul Brandt. Now, it's a little weird to go from Lifehouse and Flyleaf to country singer Paul Brandt. However, if anything defied my childhood and junior high years, it was Paul Brandt. I grew up in a rural area, very small town, where the country station was sometimes the only station you would get or even had in that area. So I listened to a lot of Paul Brandt. And thanks to my dad, around my 13th birthday, I even got to go to a private acoustic concert and a meet and greet with Paul Brandt, and it was one of the biggest highlights ever. I loved meeting him. He was so kind. He's just this overall great guy when you meet him, and he is just so nice to me. Looking at his life apart from his music industry, he has this excellent integrity and his faith and just how he lives that outside of the media. And his music is just so impacting in my life. There's so many of his songs, I can't even list them all, that I've absolutely loved and enjoyed and that have been a huge impact in my life. And he likes to tell stories with his music, and one of my favorites was The Sycamore Tree. It was simply beautiful, and he did it live at that concert, and I absolutely loved it. And he's also still one of the few artists I've met, so I had to put him on this list. And even to this day, when I'm forced to listen to country music at work, thankfully the station plays enough Paul Brandt that I can make it through the day. And category number 4 is television. This was a little difficult because I have shows that I love, but I wanted to choose shows that were the most influential. And for me growing up, the biggest show at the time was Friends. And my group of friends and I have watched every single episode, and when we would get together for New Year's or the holidays, we would watch all the New Year's episodes or all the Christmas episodes together, and anything that we did had a Friends reference. We would always come up with some sort of reference from Friends because we had seen them so much together and so much of it applied to our lives at the time. Friends was also one of the few TV shows that I've actually seen end in my lifetime and got to see the finale. I was living in a boarding school at the time, and I can't remember if there was an event on or if it was a weekend, but the dorms were practically empty, so me and a few other girls convinced the deans to allow us to actually set up the TV in the lounge to watch TV, and we watched the finale of Friends. And I remember, I think all of us were sitting there yelling, "Get off the plane! Get off the plane!" And I will never forget actually watching and yelling with my group of girlfriends, "Get off the plane." It's just one of those memories that's going to stay with me, and having actually seen a TV show end in my lifetime. My next most influential TV show was MASH. I grew up watching a lot of MASH with my dad on retro television, Deja Vu, or whatever it's called, and I absolutely loved MASH. I haven't finished all of the seasons yet, but I did like my own little marathon because I own the complete box set. And I did my own little marathon, and I think I made it up to season 4 or season 3. I wasn't that far into the series, but I absolutely loved MASH. It was so well written, the characters were amazing, the storyline is great. You have this comedy balanced with so much drama, and just it balances so well because in what these people are facing, you can't help but have a good sense of humor about it, and you just feel so invested in these characters. Even in season 3 and season 4, wherever I ended up, I just felt so invested in these characters' lives. Hawkeye Pierce is still one of my all-time favorite TV characters. He's just hilarious, but he has a lot of heart, and it's an all-around amazing show. I picked 2 shows for my last pick because they are shows that I am currently watching, currently invested in, and represent 2 big things in my life that I love, and that is Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and ABC's Once Upon a Time. I love Once Upon a Time because it's taking fairy tales and mixing them with real life, and it's adventure and love stories and quests and trying to figure things out. I love stuff like that. I love where characters have to work their way through things and figure it out, and it's never concluded at the end. It still continues on, and they're fighting through, and I'm still pretty behind on Netflix. I'm still on like season 2. I only started watching it like this past month, so I'm not that far ahead, so please no spoilers for that one. And as for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm a Marvel fan. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've only recently started reading some of the comic books and have been thoroughly enjoying them, but I'm a huge fan of the Cinematic Universe and loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and thank you so much, Whedon, for bringing Coulson back. Coulson is my all-time favorite character out of the entire Marvel's universe, and I'm so glad they brought him back. So I will forgive you for that one, Whedon. And again, same as Once Upon a Time, I'm still a little behind in this show. I haven't yet finished season 1, just because I got a little behind on stuff, because, you know, life does get in the way of TV show binges. So I'm still behind, even though season 3 just premiered, I think, last night. So please, no spoilers, thank you. The next category was a difficult one because I grew up with so many movies. Movies was my family's life, which had its negative aspects and its positive aspects. But there's so many movies that influenced my life that it was hard to pick. I did just recently do my top animated movies, which was super hard to pick, and I ended up doing 15 of them, and I think that video ended up being 20 minutes long because it was such a hard time choosing between movies. Even though I just did my animated movie, I am going to pick The Little Mermaid again because it was my first Disney experience, it was my first Disney movie, and probably one of my first movies ever in my life, and it still remains to be one of my all-time favorite movies today. The next most influential movie in my life is one I have seen probably over 50 times. I have loved it from being a child on to an adult. Every time I watch it, I can't pick anything wrong with it. I love it every single time, and that is Ever After. It is my all-time favorite Drew Barrymore movie. I love this movie. I loved Angelica Hudson as the stepmother. She was perfect and awesome and evil, and just everything about this movie is gorgeous. The costumes, the storyline, the acting, the music, beauty in film. It was my favorite, and it still continues to be one of my favorites. The next most influential movie is one, again, simply picked because it is a gorgeous movie and it is one of my favorites, and that is The Young Victoria. I love anything to do with Victoria because of this movie. I've read books about her now. If I ever get to London, one of my first stops is Regent Park and the Victoria and Albert Museum. I love their story. I love the history behind all of this. And as a movie itself, it was simply gorgeous. And the acting was phenomenal. Emily Blunt won an Academy Award for this movie. You also have Rupert Friend as Prince Albert. Miranda Richardson played Victoria's mother, and I loved her in The Phantom of the Opera. She is a brilliant actress. And you have Mark Strong, as usual, playing the villain as Sir John Conroy, and Paul Bettany as Lord Melbourne. I love Paul Bettany, and he did such a good job in this movie. The acting was amazing, the cinematography is just gorgeous, and the costumes were just breathtaking. And the storyline itself is just beautiful. I loved everything about this movie. And the last category is most influential social media. First one would have to be Facebook. I know I don't use it as much anymore. It's kind of lost its edge for me, but I use it to keep track of a lot of friends. I went to Bible school, and with Bible school you got friends scattered from one end of Canada to the other, so I use it to keep track of all my friends who don't live in the same province as me, and that's how I keep involved in people's lives, is basically just stalking them on Facebook. I don't talk to them, I just scroll through the timeline, and if you see me like a video, it means I'm keeping up with your life, which is a very sad and poor excuse. I'm sorry. The next most influential social media is Goodreads. Here is where I find all my book recommendations, I hunt down new books, I read reviews and find out what's in the books before I read the books. And the next I'm going to pick is Twitter. Twitter is how I communicate with my BookTube friends. I leave my Facebook completely private from anything connected to my channel, because my Facebook is my private life. And I do so out of respect for the people I have on Facebook as family and friends, so I leave Facebook away from that, but Twitter is what I use to communicate with my BookTube friends. So I chat with you guys on Twitter. Thank you again, Casey, so much for tagging me in this video. This is only my second tag I've actually been tagged to do, and I'm really excited when I actually get tagged to do tags, because it means I'm actually connecting with people, and that's what I want to be here for. So please, tag me to do stuff. I love doing tag. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.